nada, ué. Você não acha que o casal tem que
igual o
trabalhar?
negócio?
Você quer casar com uma mulher que ela não trabalha, não faz nada? E você vai ser o macho alfa?
Tô pensando.
Entendi.
Tem que ganhar grana primeiro.
É, então, aí você vai bancar ela.
You have to switch to English because the people are not gonna know what the hell you're talking about.
É, eu sei, mas é porque isso aí não vai estar no programa.
How do you know it's not gonna be in the program?
Nope.
How do we know how we start?
I don't know.
We start. You never watched this. You never watched the show.
Yeah, but we're not gonna start with
Titi
that.
never watched the show.
I know,
Titi
but
was here last week. Do you know that?
No. Is he okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's being Titi, you know. He's good.
What's it like being TT?
It seems wonderful, actually. I would like to be Titi sometimes, because that guy does all right.
That's nice. That's nice.
But anyways, do you? So we know each other for how long now?
More than 2.5 years. I guess like in person 2.5 years.
It seems
but like,
longer than that.
But we met remotely, so it was like what, 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
I think it was beginning of 2022.
Yeah, it was. I was in Rhode Island, and it was like I think it was like the lockdowns and all that stuff going on, and our mutual friend, who's an actress who I met in LA, she introduced us.
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's funny how things work. I met her because I joined this group. Right. This is how things are weird. Right. I joined this group. And I met this lady. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. I did a student film. That's what it was. I did a student film. And there was this actress in the student film with me, and she was kind of weird. And she said, hey, I have 2 tickets to the premiere of this Cuba Gooding Jr. movie at the Fox Studios. Do you want to go? I was like, yeah, I'll have to go, right? So basically, I get there, and the lady doesn't show up because she's kind of weird.
And when was that?
This was, oh man, I don't know. I want to say this was 2013.
Wow.
Yeah, a while back. So, somewhere around there. Don't hold me to it. But basically, I went there, and a lot of the people were being standoffish, whatever. And you know how I love coffee, and I'm trying to quit all the time, right? So I went to the coffee line, and there was this actress in front of me, and I talked to everybody, and I just started talking to her about coffee. And comes to find out, she's one of the actresses in the movie, and it was Julie, who you and I know, who introduced us almost 10 years later. So you never know. Like the point of this story, boys and girls, is that you never know what little actions are going to, give you something.
Who you're gonna meet in the coffee line. Who you're gonna talk to, just grabbing some coffee, and then I don't know.
So the point is, drink coffee, people. It's
No.
good for your health. It's good for your career. Speaking of career, tell the good people, what is it that you do, Adriana?
Oh, look at that. You can all call me Didi. I'm using that artistic name now. Didi Paulini. Ha.
You're always going to be Adriana to me, though.
I know. It's okay. You can all call me Adriana as well. That's fine. I am a producer and director. I moved here from Brazil 2.5 years ago. Worked in, tons of short films, web series, fiction podcasts. I created a couple things, did music videos, produced, I directed some. Let's see, what else? I recently produced 2 documentaries. One of them I directed as well. We are going through film festivals right now. And with my production company in Brazil, we're just releasing 2 short films, 2 animated short films. And in probably the end of first semester, we're going to be releasing a short documentary. Let's see. Yeah, just everything creative. I'm in. I can do whatever, produce, direct, write, act sometimes. I'm starting to do that as well. And yeah, just don't ask me to hold a camera. I mean, I will hold it. I just not gonna do anything extra with that. But other than that, I can do anything.
You know, I think about that sometimes too, right? Like, cause back in the day, it seemed like people were more specialized, right? Like if you did one job,
Yeah.
and I think that, and I don't know if that's necessarily positive. I want to see what you think about it, but um, sometimes it's like, you know, I struggle with that a lot of the times. Like, you know, I could just focus all my energy on being an actor or being a director, you know, kind of a thing. But I find that, you know, I have a lot of things that I want to finish. Like I also worked on documentaries I want to finish. You know, a lot of the times what I find, and I see this like a struggle with a lot of people who are creative, is that it's almost like we have too many balls in the air all at once.
Yeah.
You know, what is your take on that?
Yeah, no, I feel like I mean, there's like usually one thing that you are most, like specialize in or like you know how to do best. The other things you want to like you want to create, you want to do it or or you have to produce because you created something and now you have like you want to do this independent passion project kind of thing that you need to like kind of like start, so you have to become the producer sometimes, even though you wrote the project. Or like for me, I started mostly doing producing. So I started with as a producer, right? Especially because of my background. I have a background in economics, in consulting, like managing budget and all of that. So it kind of like helped going into the creative side instead of like just sticking to the creative. I could also like manage a project. So let's say 90% of the things I did or 90% of the things that I made money with was producing. So then the other things are usually because I want to create something, I want to tell a story that I like. So then I started directing because I wanted to tell those stories in particular. And then I started getting good at it because I was like working, I was doing a couple things here and there. So that's when I kind of like that passion started. So I feel like we have to do, if you are doing like independent projects, like sometimes you may do like more than one thing at a time because you want to have that going, and then you find your passion. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to follow with this. I'm going to do this other thing. Because when you go into big budget movies, you're gonna do like one specific thing. You don't usually like, right? Do like, I'm not gonna be the director, producer, actor, whatever. Like you can be, of course, sometimes, they're executive producer just because they have like a big name attached to it. So okay, I'm gonna make some profit. But it's not like they are managing the whole set. They're not producing literally, right? They're just
Right.
like acting on it.
Well, and there's a big difference too when, even the people who are like producing and directing, right?
Yeah.
It's a big difference because like you have so much assistance, right? Like you have so many people there to help you
Oh, yeah.
direct. It's not like when we're producing something where, yeah, we're directing, but we're also we have to make sure everybody's fed. And if you have to go someplace, like we have to go someplace to get a thing versus, like a big budget movie that has literally like maybe three PAs
Yeah.
just for one guy, you know what I mean? Just for the director. And they have a personal assistant and they have, the DPs have personal assistants. It's a whole different ball of wax. I thought about that a lot of the times. Like it almost feels like a luxury. Like I thought about this, the day that I go into a set and all I have is one job to do is going to feel like a vacation for me. Because it's like, like a lot of the times, like it feels like I have like 5 fucking jobs all at once. And,
I've had that experience. It's great, or even if you're just acting and you don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. Because the whole thing is that my brain since I produce most of the time, right? And my brain has always like a plan B, plan C, plan D, whatever necessary. Like I'm literally like a problem solver, and I like doing that. So if I'm directing or acting, if I'm more in a creative position that I don't have to worry about the set or the managing or like with the, any problem that may come up, I'm still thinking about that. If I overhear something that may have gone wrong and it's kind of like, it's not even related to me, my brain is already figuring out a solution. So that's the problem for me. It's kind of like, okay, blocking the producer mind, and like, okay, I'm gonna be creative now. I'm just gonna like stick to creating something, and I'm gonna forget if people are being fed. I'm gonna forget if people are like, I don't know, if they got it here in time, if there's like enough anything. That's the hardest thing for me. It's like turning that little like problem solving thing in my mind.
It goes back to something I used to think about before. And sometimes I also struggle with is just the ability of focusing, right? Which is focusing that one thing that that we have to do. Because I find that a lot. Like, so this past summer, Titi and I, we worked on this video that I wasn't able to finish, and for a lot of reasons. I think I talked about this before in the previous episode a little bit, but that whole thing was so overwhelming because I was doing maybe 6 jobs at once, including operating the camera when I'm not in front of the camera. So I'm acting, I'm directing, I'm the camera op, and the thing that's shitty about that, like you said, is like you can't. It's very hard to turn your brain off when you are in front of the camera, right? Because like when you're acting, then your circumstances should be completely different than making a movie, right? I'm trying not to get killed by the aliens who are chasing me. In my mind, that should be in my mind, not the, oh, is the lighting okay? Oh, is this guy holding the boom correctly? Right? So in a way, it's like you have to turn that off. And then once we say cut, then you have to go back to that mindset because you have to check what you just filmed and give notes to people. So yeah, it's super, super exhausting. And like I said, I look forward to the day that I don't have to do that. But and maybe that's something that we should talk about too. It's like a lot of the times, I talk about this concept of sequencing. If Elon Musk, when he started his career 30 years ago, if he said, hey, I want to go to Mars, he probably couldn't do it, right? He had to work on PayPal and then work on his other companies to have enough money, have enough power. Now he can talk about that. But if he did that first, then you will certainly fail, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think the same thing kind of happens with, us in a smaller scale. It's like, what project could I do myself? Or what project could I do right now that at least is done? Versus, this feature epic thing that takes place in the 1970s. And you know what I mean? Like how do you pick the project that...
I tried to give you an advice of like try to.
You have tried to give me many advice. Some of it was good, some of it was questionable. But well, go ahead. Which advice are you referring to?
Maybe don't do like that's such a big of a project, like.
I have big dreams, Adriana. I have big dreams.
So no, I agree with you, and I feel like you should just like post your film, man.
We're not talking about me. We're talking about in general now. We're giving advice to the people here. Come on. No, but I know. Yeah, I know what you mean, though.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
no. Yeah, but
it's it's a very like I feel like sometimes my creative mind won't let me be so creative or so like do big things or imagine like big things because I know that right now I don't have the budget for that. So then I just don't write about it. But then it's like I'm like, how do you say, like I'm just blocking myself, of thinking of something big because I know I might not achieve like in the next week or so.
It,
So
yeah,
then it's like not being optimistic, but also like being realistic. Like, what's best, you know? Am I gonna like write a super cool aliens starship, which I have, but then I'm like, is that gonna be a book? Is that gonna be like something? Because I know I'm not gonna be able to shoot that next week with the people, you know, like with the
right.
money I have right now.
Well, and here's the thing that I think is interesting though, right? Because, I also worked as producer, and yeah, there are people who are really good at saying, okay, I have these things in front of me. Let me write something with these three things I have in front of me. And it is limiting, but it's also, that doesn't mean it has to be creatively bankrupt, right? Because you can do, even though you have, limitations are not always a bad thing. Sometimes limitations are good. I think that it's just a matter of, and I know exactly when you said that about, oh, am I limiting myself? I know exactly what you mean, because when you are writing something, at least I mean, this is my experience. Tell me what yours is. But when I'm writing something, usually it's like I'm not putting any limits on this thing. I'm just letting the imagination go where it goes. I'm letting the story goes where it needs to go in order to have a beginning, middle, and end. Um, but then the critical mind comes and like, yeah, bro, there's no way you're gonna fucking film this, right? Is that similar to you?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Like I've had you know, sometimes you would just want to do in a different location, right? You don't want to be that same like house situation because you know you're gonna get a house. It's easy. So and then you go through like, I'm never gonna get that train station, or I'm never gonna get like that. So you start limiting yourself. We're kind of like changing towards a point that it makes no sense to do this anymore. So then you kind of like you don't even like start by thinking that you're not going to be able to achieve. And sometimes like I've done short films that I never thought it would be possible, but just by asking, you know, like just actually like I didn't limit myself, and okay, I'm going to try to get this place. I'm just going to go ahead and ask. And they were like, oh yeah, sure, why not? And sometimes you're just not going to like get cool places. Like I remember there was one scenario that we were doing this like very different out of the space with like a different like language kind of like situation. And the people involved, they wanted to have like more looking more like a starship inside kind of situation, or like white walls. I don't know. And then there's this place in Brazil, in São Paulo, that is called it's called the Ball House. It's like a sphere. It's like it's literally like round house for real. And you have some pictures online because it was designed by a famous architect, and he lived there. So I literally knocked on his door. I told him about the project, and he's like, "Okay, I'll let you guys film over here." And
Wow.
I was like, "What?" And it's like the craziest house I have ever been inside to. We didn't pay anything for it. It was like he let us stay for the whole day, you know, and it was like this it looked like you were in a maybe like in a, for real, like in a spaceship. And then it was like all the walls were round because it was like a ball from the outside. You know, you could literally see that. And so I was like, why do I limit myself sometimes? You know, it's just like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I've done both things, you know. I've limited myself and I was like, no, I'm gonna get that. And
You know what I think is funny? I think that usually what I found missing. Okay, so let me go back a little bit. When I made the movie in LA, it failed 3 times. Like I had a crew that I fired later. I tried to work with I tried to get somebody else to direct the movie, and that was a disaster. And then finally I did it. And even when I did it myself, I, you know, I didn't own a camera before I, shot the movie. I didn't know how to put a lens on. I had to look up on YouTube how to put a lens on a camera. So my whole film school has been YouTube slash, working on projects myself. So And and I had already studied writing and acting, so I had that base. But you know, I think at the end of the day, right, when it comes to the limiting thing, I think at the end of the day, it's like, man, you just can't allow the project to fail. It's almost like the project will fail. Like it's not going to go according to what you plan. The actor is going to give up, or the location is going to disappear. People are going to just leave. Expect that that's the normal thing, and then you just know that you cannot allow the thing to fail. Because that's what happened with that movie. It's like I was just not allow it to fail. Um, and I think the biggest there were two limitations that I found I had when I was working. One of them, I didn't own the equipment. I was borrowing equipment from other people, and although I'm very grateful that they allow me to use the equipment, it was their equipment, and they eventually would need it back. So there's only so much of filming you can do. Um, and the people that were not very gracious were like, "Well, it's my equipment, it's my lighting, it's my movie." Right? If I want to leave with all my gear, what are you gonna do, director? It's nothing you can do. So that's why I started buying equipment and saying, I'm gonna own the means of production, so that nobody can tell me, oh, I'm not gonna do like if a guy decides to quit, then okay, quit, but the gear is here and it's mine, so somebody else can use it or I can use it. That
Oh yeah.
was that was one of the things. And the other thing was not lack of knowledge. There are things that I just didn't know. And I think that's with every project. It's like there's like that's exactly what's happening with this thing now. Is like, all those alien environments are going to be made in Blender, and I don't know Blender yet. And Blender is something that's not super easy to get if you haven't, you know, I would say it's definitely more complicated than Premiere or
Oh yeah.
DaVinci,
Not
right?
my thing. I'm never like
Yeah, so like
trying.
if you don't have that technical
Yeah.
side, you can't really, like, you definitely need somebody else to do it. So I think that's one of the things that people run across is like, fuck, I just don't have the knowledge to do this, right? Because it is a matter of skill. Like if
Oh
you had
yeah.
the skill, you could do it. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But
the whole like post production, like the whole post side editing, color correction, all of that. Like I know the basics to it,
mhm.
like, but it's not something I want to specialize on it. So like I'm like, okay, can I put a movie together? Yeah, sure. Will it be great? No. Like because I'm not doing that every day. I'm not doing that. Kind of like it's not. I don't have a passion to learn and be like a specialist on that for that matter. Especially like visual effects or Blender for that
Mhm.
matter. I'm not. Oh my goodness, I have no idea how you would like you would have to manage all of that. Like I can picture, I can envision, I can tell people, I can maybe like draw little sticks, like kind of like show what I want.
Yeah.
But then this whole like virtual production, it would have to be like managed by somebody else. I needed to be, to have somebody strong on that, to be able to like produce something in that scale.
Well, I think one of the things that I found uh, that you're very good at is you're very good at putting teams together. I think
Yeah.
if I was just observing from the outside and say what's Adriana's key competence, I would say putting the team together and managing the logistics of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Would you
I
agree
love
with that?
that. Yeah, no, I love that. But first of all, I love connecting people. So like it's one thing like, oh, okay, you do this, you do that. I was like, okay, let's do this together. And kind of like so I always have like someone in mind for different positions or different things that I want to do. Of course, here in the United States, like I'm still building my portfolio. Like most of my things are in Portuguese and they were done in Brazil. So I had like more crew over there that I can rely or I can do things with. But here, I've been like slowly like selecting or kind of like working on things that, and I've met like, I always I always try to say like yes to sets or things that I know I'm gonna be able to go or do, because I can always meet someone that it's gonna go with me for life, or like I don't know, there's always something positive. Even though I have done some like bad short films or like bad web series, like there are projects that I'm not proud of, not because I created myself, like I produced for a friend of mine, or did something, or even if I created, it's just not that there were some mistakes that needed to be made, in order for me to achieve, or in order for me to be who I am right now.
Oh,
So
absolutely. It's
yeah,
like
so that's totally fine. People like out there, like you want to do your short film, do it. Don't like, oh, this is like the script I have been writing my whole life and I want it to be like so special.
yeah, that's
No.
usually the recipe for disaster,
Yeah.
right?
It's like
Because
just go ahead and do it, because you're
yeah,
not going to be like, if you are a creative person, first of all, you're going to create something else. It's not like, oh, I'm going to save this one, I'm going to do something else now because this is like special. Go ahead and do it. You're gonna make mistakes. It's not gonna be great. Your first film is not gonna be awesome, and it's fine. You wanna know how to did it. That I feel like that's the most important thing. It's like you've learned from your mistakes, and then the second one is gonna be better. The third one is gonna be even better. And the fourth one it's not gonna be great, but that's fine. You met someone on that fourth one that's gonna go with you for the fifth one, and that's it. That's how you keep going. Don't save your scripts, or don't save, like if you can do it, even though like a low budget, you are going to learn something from it. So just like go ahead and do it. So I feel like that's the biggest thing. But yeah, sometimes I'm just like I like connecting, so I like putting, like teams together. I like producing. I like the logistics of it. I like solving the issues, like I always have like a plan B, C. My mind is kind of like going crazy for that side. So that's, yeah, I very much like producing.
yeah, I would say one thing, and I haven't been as active on YouTube as I should be. I think it's criminal that I have this many pieces of equipment that I don't use more on a regular
Yep,
basis.
I agree.
But no, I know. Trust me, I'm aware. But
There's
I
so
do produce for other
much.
people, so I do produce for clients. But like when I started doing YouTube, even after I did the movie and everything else, well, okay, let me backtrack one more time. So after I've done the movie, right, in LA, my short movie, I met a bunch of people and I wanted to do documentaries because I definitely noticed that if I was better at camera work, I could get other jobs, right? So I could potentially be doing work that makes me better at the
Hmm.
thing I want to do, and meet people, kind of like what you were mentioning before. So I decided to do the documentaries because I was like, man, I'm going to be shooting every day, right? So I'm going to get better at filming. Because with documentaries, like it's not like a movie, right? With documentaries, like the shooting ratio is insane. Like you basically, and maybe you shouldn't work that way. And today maybe I would have been more conservative, in how much I shot. But like you basically shooting everything because you never know what you're gonna use.
Hmm.
And my whole thing with the documentaries was like I was gonna be a fly on the wall, kind of like this podcast, right? Like we don't like when you came in today, we were like, well, we're gonna talk about whatever, you know what I mean? We don't have like a set thing. So the documentaries were kind of like that too. They follow specific groups of people, so I thought that would be interesting. But I wanted to show them, like it would be almost as if the audience was there with us,
Okay,
right?
nice.
Very personal, very like we're doing stuff and we're talking about their struggles and what they want to do in their lives and that kind of stuff, which I find interesting. I like that style better. But that's one of the reasons why I started doing the documentary stuff, is to get better at the craft of filming. Because as you mentioned earlier, um, it just like anything else is repetition. You
Hmm.
gotta, like I could tell like the first days I went shooting versus the last time I shot in the documentary. And not to tootle my own horn, but like I can see a difference in quality of work between, the
Oh,
2 year process of filming those things and how good it was the first day versus how good it was towards the end. It was like it was completely different, and just because of repetition. So yeah, I am definitely agreeing with you there, because I think people get too precious with their scripts. I am fucking guilty of that.
Have you started
100%.
editing that? Like,
No, not really, because the way that whole thing works, right? It's like you have to. So I edit it. It's
okay.
edited together, but it's not in Blender yet. And the thing with Blender is like you have to import those things in a specific way.
Oh no, I meant the documentary.
Oh,
Like,
the documentary.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. No. I edited the first one quite a bit,
Okay.
and it's been hard
That's
for
the
me
one.
to go back.
I mean, that's
to
the
it.
one I saw, right? The
That's the
first
one you
part.
saw a
Yeah.
little bit, yeah. But I have about almost an hour of it edited already, or at least a rough cut. I don't know. Do you find that sometimes, and maybe this is a me problem, but I wonder. It'll be an interesting thing. I always wanted to ask this question for another another filmmaker. Do you find that sometimes there are projects that they're emotionally hard to go back and work on them? Or is it just me?
Um. So I feel like since I don't edit, and I feel like that's a good thing in terms when I'm directing, because I like having somebody else's eye and toward that project. So like, like if I wrote and directed, I don't want to edit because then I feel like it's just it might be like not that it's gonna be boring or it's gonna be like it's gonna be me too much,
Too
like
much
it
of
could be
you,
like
yeah.
too much, too much of like what I was thinking. So having somebody else edit for me, it helps a lot because then it brings like, of course, I'm gonna have all the notes. I'm still gonna have. I mean, I shot what I wanted to shoot, so. But I feel like having somebody else to edit that, it helps a lot. It helps not, not being afraid of editing your own work. Because then you kind of like, I could have done better this. I could have done this. And then no, it's like, this is the cut. This is all we have. I watched it too. And it's a second opinion. So I'm like, okay, that's it. I feel like it helps me more, towards the project side. But that's me, that's not being an editor.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Huh.
Yeah. Like I've of course I will rewatch everything. I'll make notes, like I'll put the clips I really want. But that's what happened to me in this documentary. Like I wanted to do like a feature, but a short feature. And I told my editor, look, I wanted to go it as smoothly as possible. If we don't have enough for this runtime, that's fine because I want it to be like, I have quality instead of like time, right? And I
Right.
may
Yeah.
have
It's
like,
better to have something that's good
yeah.
as short versus
so,
long. Yeah.
So I was like, so I'm glad he edited. Otherwise, I would have been adding a lot of things because every reply, every answer, like I was there, I was interviewing then, and I was finding it fascinating. And I wouldn't be able to like cut some of the answers because I was like, oh, this is cool. That's so sweet. That's nice. But not everything is nice, like,
Yeah,
not
there's
everything is
that.
interesting. It's like, so I'm glad that I had someone to go with fresh eyes and, not it wasn't that attached to the story that I was.
I think I'm okay with usually like when I'm writing something, right? I follow the specific structure and in this style of writing, and once the thing gets to a point where it's kind of like a rough draft, or even past, several drafts later, I have no problem trying to kill the babies. Like I have no problems trying to kill my babies, because it's like I want to put this thing to such a stress test that you can, because people are going to stress test your script for you, whether you ask them or not. Like they're going to be like, oh, this doesn't make any sense, or this guy wouldn't say this, or whatever. You know what I mean? And some of it is just stupid and it makes no sense. But once in a while, you see like, oh yeah, I really missed that point. Or specifically, like if let's say we give the script out to actors, right? And every single actor has a problem with page 5. At that point, you have to like, I probably fucked up page 5. That's not a them problem. That's a me problem. I need to be humble and fix. And it shouldn't even be like a matter of being humble. It should just be a professional and be like, okay, well, if nobody gets this joke, then this joke is not funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as you know, in the writing side, I don't have a problem being detached. I think for me, it was more like I don't know. It's weird. You know, I filmed a documentary during the COVID years. And sometimes, like watching it, it's like, do you ever like find a picture of you like 5 years ago or whatever, and then you like remember, oh yeah, that was the day that I had this thing happen to me or that thing happened to me, and all of a sudden, like you're back there again.
Yeah.
And in a way, that was like an exciting time for me, but it was also a difficult time for me.
I see.
So it's like, I don't want to sit here for 8 hours fucking remembering that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
again, this is such a fucking.
But then that's fine.
You know what I mean?
You
Like,
can totally move on.
excuse.
And like, I mean,
But
yes and no. It's something that you can either like, again, either find an editor, so then you don't have to deal with that.
you're solving. See, you're doing it.
Or-
You're solving my problem for me.
Yeah, right? Or
No, I
like,
think I'll do it eventually. I'm gonna.
yeah,
fucking do
or
it.
like literally just move on. That's fine. It's something that's been bothering you. It's been like a while that you've done it. Like, do it again. Go find some really good subjects and film that all over.
I'll tell you one thing too. With the first movie in particular, and I guess I can talk about it, but like I had a bit of a falling out with one of the people in the movie.
Oh.
And I think that, because
Mm.
I mean, I was filming all over the country. We were going, like I was in Arizona, I was in California, I was in Maine, I was in New York. And, we were in situations that were not easy situations necessarily. There's never like physical danger, but there's definitely stressful situations for sure. Especially when you're shooting the whole day, you're tired, you're hungry, and you have a crew now with you. One of the days I had to have somebody else helping me. And tensions can run high, especially when things don't go according to plan. And I think that there was like at one of the days that we were filming, like we had the perfect pressure cooker. And I think this person and I said things to each other that we probably regret.
Okay.
I mean, I consider this person actually used to consider this person like a friend. It was dear. This person is dear to me. But anyway, so I think it's a lot of that, And then if you're just sitting like, again, reliving the thing, it could be like a bullshit excuse. I don't want to move on for the project because I have. First of all, I think there are good stories there, and the majority of the people were great. And I think I want to tell their stories.
Yeah, why can you not just use them? Like,
No, I'll probably use them. I'll use this person too. There's no reason why I wouldn't.
Okay.
And the thing is, like, this is the funny thing is I think his story was the best. Like, as far as
It's always like that. Yeah.
no, I mean, right. I mean, like, I was like in love with this
Yeah.
person because it's like, wow, you were fucking fascinating. But so it's just, I guess it's just a crash of personalities or whatever. But I don't hold any grudge or anything. But we definitely we got heated up, both of us. But anyways, that's the story. And I think that's the thing with any kind of movie too, is like people who are not in the industry may not realize, but sometimes I don't know. And that's the thing. Maybe in Brazil is different. People seem to be more chill in Brazil, I guess. But here, man, some sets are like fucking pressure cookers.
Oh,
It's
no,
like pressure and ego and.
No, it's the same in Brazil.
It's the same thing in Brazil too?
Yeah.
People get like super fucking angry?
yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
all the same, which is it's insane to me. It's like literally like, why did you not do a better pre-production? There's like so much. You spend so much time in pre-production. There's like so many things that you could have seen, and then you were just like yelling, or like some, I don't know,
Yeah.
directors or producers. This for me, it's like literally like no respect. It's not a set I want to be on it. There's
Right.
no need for that. And because if when everybody's a professional, like they're literally like, things move along. They know what they have to do. It's like they're going towards their equipment, their direction, whatever they have to do. And then so like there's the disrespect and like, lack of communication. They're like the two things that cannot happen with with my set. Like literally, like tell me the problem. Tell me what's going on. Like I've had some PAs, production assistant, that will try to figure something out and it will tell me the problem like 30 minutes later. I was like, just come to me first. Maybe I have a solution for that. Not that I'm like a problem solver, like 100%, but like don't try to hide it and then like come to me like an hour later, because then I lost an hour that we could have been brainstorming about this, right? So those are the little things that make like a set go bad. It's the lack of pre-production. Everything could have been like rehearsed or thought about it. And then when you want to try to change things, like I've done the whole thing with like music videos, for instance. You only have one day with the artist, right? With an artist. So you're like, I have to do this and like you have 12 hours, but it always goes to like 16, 18, which is great overpay. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's insane because it's like, why did you have to do this for like so many hours, director and artist? Or like, why did the artist take like 5 hours to get ready? It's like, why didn't you do it before? Like you just wasted 5 hours of like overtime paying like an entire crew, when you could have like gotten up and get ready before like this whole thing happened.
Yeah, the pre-production goes a long way.
Yeah, so then everybody's like mad and tired and like yelling for no reason, or like you gotta feed people again, and then it's kind of like it's taking up time because it's just like little things that
Yeah.
could have been like, so yeah, no, we totally have this in Brazil, like crazy sets or things that shouldn't, it shouldn't happen, but it still does.
I think you know this, but most people don't know this. When I'm prepping for even a YouTube video, well, this last video was the pre-production was crazy, and we still ran into problems. And I think mostly we ran into problems because of a lack of money. Because if I had money to like pay like a camera operator to be here a week before so we can rehearse together everything,
Yeah.
right? Because depending on the shots, and I'm very particular about my shots, it's not a quick conversation. It's actually a pretty long conversation. And it should be a collaboration between the camera operator, the case of the director, the DP. Like the camera operator is the most like, if the camera is moving a lot, right? And if you have intentional camera movement, the camera is almost like a character in the movie itself. So you really have to be really well planned. My thing was I shoot the movie twice. I shoot the movie with the dolls, the G.I. Joes or Star Wars
Yeah.
dolls that I have because I want to get the perspectives and things like that. I do the overheads. So it's like we have what the camera sees with the dolls, in a relatively scale. And then I have the overheads so that, people can know where the camera is going to go. It may start here and then go around and all kinds of stuff. But what drives me fucking crazy is that sometimes I'll spend a month working on something like that, right? For then the camera operator to be like, "Oh, I just tell me what it is. I don't need to look at that." I'm like, "No, guy, fuck, you need to look at that because I spent a month working on it and I want exactly this. And if you don't give me this, I'm not moving on because I'm OCD. So like, I want you to do what's here. And the reason why there's an overhead is so you can see where you need to step and the steps you need to take. And the reason why there is a perspective of the camera is so you can get the framing that I want." So, and I had the situation, the very well-intentioned camera operators were like, "Oh, I don't need that. Just tell me what it is." And I'm like,
Mm.
I can't just tell you what it is, because that's why this document that's like 50 pages long exists. Um, and I find that when I work well with the operator, or if I am operating, because I don't know how you are, but like it's very easy for me to like lose track of what I'm doing the day that I'm doing. Like I'll lose track of the shots. And if I don't have a document with me,
Oh, you gotta have a document with
I
you.
wouldn't be able to, right? Like I wouldn't be able to keep a coherent flow of
Yeah, no,
what
you
I
gotta
want.
keep like you have your storyboard, you have your shot list or something, and you just like your first AD. But anyway, you would be like, okay, done, 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 done. So you kind of like know the plan.
But I'm sure you've been into those sets where people don't have that. And usually when they don't have that, that's where the shit goes, hits the fan, and everybody's
Oh yeah.
yelling and everybody's pointing fingers, and the set becomes really toxic really fast.
Or they can have like a really bad plan. Like let's say for instance, like you have like a whole day of like a shooting, and then let's say that you have like, I don't know, 6 good hours, right? Because other than that, you were like setting up equipment, you were like, wrapping, you were having lunch, whatever. So in those 6 hours, you can only do so much. So you can only do, I don't know, I'm going to say like 10 shots, right? You're going to have like a list of things you can do. Sometimes people just want to accomplish like 25 shots. And I'm like, that's not even like possible,
Yeah.
like remotely possible. And then you're like, time is running, time is running. And you feel like you were running out of time because you barely
didn't
got to
plan
the half of the
properly.
list.
Yeah.
But it's because you made like an impossible plan.
Yeah.
Like
And I've done that mistake, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. I've
So
done that.
so yeah, you got to be more realistic of like, I have only this, I have this many hours. I'm not going to be able to like get 10 shots of the same thing. So I'm going to do 2 good ones, because you might have to start again. You need to have a take 2 for camera. Then you have to have a take 3 because an airplane went by. And then you have to have a take 4 because, I don't know, the actor forgot his lines. So it's like, you can't think that you're going to do everything on a take, because everything's going to be like so perfect. Because
The
it
one
won't.
take wonder.
Yeah, right. it's never like that,
Yeah,
like
no, never is.
you may get like a good take 1, but I mean, you just do a second one just like for safety, like
Right.
still. So I feel like a lot of like the mistakes I made, early on was that having like a big shot list, for something that it was low budget. Or so
Yeah.
I've learned from that, like I've like, oh, we're gonna do this, 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 and then it's like 14 hours and people are like, want to go home, because they have their own lives. They want to do, they don't need to be in your project throughout the whole day. They have their families. They got to go home. So that's what I've got pretty good at like time management, because, there are some plans that are just impossible.
Making films is a multifaceted endeavor, right? Because you have ultimately you are limited exactly by what you just mentioned, which is like people need to go home, people need to eat, people need to sleep. The human factor is limiting in a way. When I was talking to TT last time, last episode, we talked about AI and the effects of robotics coming into the especially to the film industry. And I made a prediction that, again, I don't wish this to happen, but I think it will happen. I think as robotics become more available, like the Tesla robot is, I could be wrong about the price, but I heard it was like $30,000 you can get one. That's a lot cheaper than paying a PA for a year. A lot cheaper. If you're Warner Brothers, if you're like one of these big companies, it's so cheap. It's so much cheaper than paying an audio engineer the whole year. So what's to stop them saying, okay, well, we're going to buy 100 of these robots. They're going to be a crew now. We don't need humans to operate equipment anymore. And that's it. We're going to, they can work all day.
Wow.
Um,
True.
I and even have companies like small production companies, they'll have like 3 robots that if you, let's say you have a project, right? Or if you have a client gig, you can just say, oh, I'm going to go to Atlanta Rentals or whatever, and I'm going to just rent 3 robots and program to, 1 to run sound, 2 to be PAs, one of them. And by the way, the PA can also be the AG because it can do 100 things at the same time. Um, So I like to get your take on that, because Chichi was like, "Well, I don't know if that's gonna happen because whatever." But I was like, "Yeah, but what happens like 5 years from now,
No,
10 years from now?"
I think things are gonna change. Honestly, I'm not so up to date on like the whole like thing. I really need to like research more and read more about it. But I do feel like things are gonna change, and we have to adapt ourselves to this new technology, because it's not like AI is not gonna go away. Robots are not gonna go away, and then how can we kind of like work together, like in a way, like, or what can I do, to actually still be I don't know, like be considered like a workforce.
Relevant, yeah.
Yeah, to be considered relevant, because computers were not a thing like 20 years ago, like, or more. I mean, like the easiest system, like a laptop or something, it was not a thing, and then now it's like you have to have one
You
for
have to have
work.
one,
You
yeah.
have to have one for like anything, or cell phone. So things are gonna change and things are coming. Like technology is coming. So I feel like, if you're up to date, if you know how to use technology, you can use in your favor. Because that's the whole thing. It's like, okay, we're afraid of AI. AI is gonna take over of like scripts and videos and stuff. Still not great enough. You can use some AI for a couple of things. It works, but not for like all of it, because sometimes it really like sucks. It's like it was really bad.
Well, yeah, but that's
But it's
today,
getting better.
though.
And
We're
then
talking about today's technology.
Yeah.
If you look at 5 years from, is it gonna suck 5 years from now?
yeah. So that's the thing. Like in 5 years might be like great. So
Might
then
be
what you
perfect,
do?
yeah.
Yeah. So then what do you do? And but if you know how to use that in your favor, that's just another tool. It's like we used to have big cameras. Now we have small cameras, and they work as the same. Like, so it's like, and you had to adapt yourself to learn how to use this new camera, right? So it's the same thing. Like you have to be up to speed with the technology. Like it's coming. It will be here. I mean, it's here. So we gotta like you gotta use it in your favor.
I think it's gonna open doors for the people who are the creative people. Like you said before, you have a script that's the coffee going out. If people can hear it, it's my coffee maker. I'm a bit of a coffee fanatic here.
Coffee.
I gotta quit. But anyways, I think AI will help people who are creative in the sense that, like you said, you have a script that has aliens and requires more special effects and advanced production, right? If AI can help you, like Adriana, right? Like individual, produce that thing, and that thing comes out awesome, and you own that intellectual property. So, in other words, you tell AI a couple of prompts, or you feed it the script, and you make adjustments. So basically, you can direct the whole thing from your laptop, and then export a 4K cinematic video ready for release. And then you can say, hey, Netflix, do you want this? Or just forget Netflix and just put it on YouTube and monetize it some other way. I think AI is going to help you, right? Like that's going to be almost as important as Spotify and GarageBand and all the other audio editing programs that came out that helped musicians. It completely destroyed the music industry, right? There were a lot of people making a lot of money producing music for artists, and now the artists can produce their own music and they can distribute themselves, And it's maybe it's not like a big scale. That's not going to be like a next Elvis Presley kind of a thing, but like you be able to produce. Imagine like you just feed your documentary, or me or you, whoever, you feed your documentary footage into AI, and this thing just edits for you in 5 minutes. Oh my God. How amazing is that?
Yeah. There are some tools that you can edit with AI. So
Right, I know, I was looking at it for the podcast because the podcast doesn't require, super incredible editing skills, but and it's more of a tedious kind of a thing.
mm-hmm.
But so it's not great. It's okay. It works. For narrative, I don't think it's there yet. But again, in 5 years, it might be there.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know, man. It's gonna be
It's gonna be something.
it's gonna be something, right? It's gonna be interesting to see how things go overall. Yeah, it's interesting. But I would say, and you're in school right now, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I am. Like I did film. I went to like a film school in Brazil. I did an MBA in film, and then recently I got a scholarship to do an MFA in digital filmmaking at Georgia State. So it was kind of like not a route that I was really considering at the time. Like it was kind of like something that was presented to me, showed up, and I was like, oh, this seems like interesting and cool. Like I wanted to build my portfolio here. I wanted to like up my my skills and learn all the terminology as well. Like even though like it's the same, but I just wanted to like update myself. So it's been great. I mean, there's like I have classmates from like all over the world. This is like amazing. You can like hear some different perspectives. And we work on projects together, and then there's like some events and stuff that you do. You kind of like get connected. So I feel like it's been great so far.
So I like this. This is gonna be our first controversial thing. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if film school is a good idea. In fact, I think it's a horrible idea.
I feel like you don't need film school. Like you
Right.
don't need to get a graduate degree or undergrad to be in film. No,
Right.
absolutely not. You
I
can do
think-
like a
so here's the
3-month
thing.
program.
He is. I'll say my piece, and you go ahead and you give your counter argument if you like. I'm sure you will. My argument is the thing with film school is too expensive. All the skills that you learn in film school can be learned either on set or on YouTube right now. So I can basically buy a course or for free if I want to put in the time and buy a camera, right? Like instead of spending $20,000 a year, I'll buy a $2,000 camera with the lens. And it doesn't have to be the newest camera. It can be an old one, but something that I have manual control. And I can learn more about filmmaking doing that and working with clients and working with like people like you or I, we're going to Facebook groups and joining sets. You can learn more doing that than going to school, and it's going to be cheaper, and you're going to be in the field already versus learning theory and then trying to get into, because everybody gets in at the bottom anyways. It's not like you go to film school and you have a master's and now, go ahead and direct the movie. The only thing that's positive about film school that I see that may be worth it is the connections that you make with other people, like you were mentioning before, and that could be useful, right? Like especially if I'm working with a kid who maybe has more connections than I do, and we gel well together, and later on he's gonna make this most amazing movie ever, and I can be part of it because I know him. But like the last time we went to the Brazilian group thing, there was an individual there who was talking about film school, and I didn't say anything at the time, but I was almost saying, oh man, don't go to film school. Go to school for something else. Go get a degree in math or like you did in whatever else, and then go learn film by doing it. So that's my argument. So
yeah,
now you give me the
I
counter-argument.
don't like completely disagree. I just disagree in terms that you don't need a graduate or undergrad degree in film to work in film. Like it's not like for me, It was like I was coming from a different background, and then I saw the possibility of like switching careers by going into film school first because I had no idea of like, how to start. So when I did my my MBA in film in Brazil, it was amazing. Like I was doing like I learned about direct all the departments. And then I was doing a project and as a director, as a DP, as an art director. It was like everything, right? And that led me to a 5, 6 years of a career in Brazil because I met people there that, got me connected to projects. So it was like, and I learned a lot. I learned like literally like about every department. Of course, I specialized later on the things I wanted to specialize, but I know a little bit of everything due to film school. And that was great for me because I don't like learning on my own on YouTube. If I had to like do that, I would have taken like 10 years or
Yeah.
like, like I like having the group thing that the group that's learning together. So it gave me a possibility to do like so many projects with everybody. So that's the beauty of like going to a film school. Would I have paid for like like $100,000 for being an undergrad in film? I don't know. If that was my passion from the beginning, like that's the only thing I want to do. It's literally like, and you can pay for it. Why not? But like for me, the master's, I didn't need a master's degree to continue to work. In fact, I already had my work permit, because of my skills and my abilities that I built in Brazil. So I didn't have like as a foreigner, I didn't need a school to actually give me like a work visa. I already have that. Why did I go to school? First of all, I got the scholarship. Would I have paid $100,000 for film? No. I don't have that kind of money. I would have like spent that on a film because I already have like some background in film.
Right.
But like how is the master's beneficial to me? Like I can follow a career as a professor, like I can be a college professor, which is great, like if I decided to follow that, or if I'm looking for something part-time while I pursue my own movies. Because that's what a lot of people did in the pandemics and like also in the strike. I've heard that whoever had a graduate degree went into teaching, right? Because the
Right,
whole
it's like
industry
this.
is not doing anything. So
Exactly.
you have a degree and it puts you in a different place than everybody else that doesn't. But yeah, of course, like producing is about doing it and networking. It's about connections. So like, if you have the skills, if you learn by doing it, great. You don't need a degree. And that's not gonna put you in a different place than a person that learned all by himself or herself. And yeah, you're gonna be at the same spot. It's just that for me, that's how I like to learn things. It's like being in group, learning from a professor, like or a teacher. So for me, it was way beneficial going somewhere than actually like trying to learn on my own. And so yes, I agree. You don't need film like a film degree to be a filmmaker, but I don't agree that it's not beneficial or like it's not a waste of time. I don't agree that it's a waste of time. I think it's like it's amazing if you can go and if you can do that, especially if you're like really invested, because you're gonna get the most out of it. My first year with the MBA in Brazil, I was still working as a consultant, and the MBA was like only on Saturdays. But I couldn't do any projects. I didn't have time to actually do short films or web series or whatever, work on anything, because I was working like all the time. And because it was a different, like, it's not like I went to college right when I was 17 and my mom, my dad were supporting me. So it's like it was a whole different scenario, right? For
Yeah.
me. I started later on. So but when
So let me ask you this
yeah.
question though. In Brazil, the school system is a little different. Like if you pass like that test that everybody takes, then you go to college for free.
Yeah, you can go to a
Or you
really
can
good
go to a
college for
private
free.
school that you
Yeah.
pay for, right?
Yeah, so like the whole thing, like in Brazil, it's a little like opposite from here. Like if you were wealthy, I mean, you would go to a private school, like a private high school, middle school, and all of that. So you get like a better, base of learning, and then you go to a public college. So like a state college or a public college is like they're usually the best ones in Brazil. Of course, you have private that are really good, but I don't know percentage wise, but like most private schools are like just if you pay for it, you can get in. It's like literally that. So
Yeah.
and then so if you're smart enough to get into a public college, you don't have to pay for the next 4 years. You can be a doctor without paying. However, it's very competitive, so you have to be like smart or
good.
do like like a let's say your high school, we call it cursinho, right? So it's like repeating your last year of high school again and again and again until you pass. A lot of people go through that for like, I don't know, 3-4 years until they pass into a public school.
Wow.
But they're not going to pay for, they're not going to pay like over $1 million in fees because it's free. The whole thing is free, right?
Well, because see, the thing about it is this, right? Like if let's say if somebody said to me, look, film school is going to be free, then fuck yeah, go. Right? Especially if you have, because I think also people learn differently. I don't do well. I don't like lectures as much. They're not that interesting to me. It depends a lot on the talent of the lecturer, So for me, that doesn't work well. For me, it's more like I need to do the thing.
Yeah, but
and
that's
I'll
the
learn
thing with
thing.
this program. It's very hands-on. It's like a production based. It's not lecture. It's not like a doctorate that you're gonna be like just.
But that's not every program that has.
Oh no,
film.
yeah. There's like a lot of like I have like a friend from Pakistan that he said that his undergrad was they barely
Theory.
made movies. No, it was like in Pakistan. So like they're he went for undergrad film and they barely made movies. It was more
Yeah.
like a theory
Yeah.
behind, right? And then for me, I like it to be like very hands-on. Like you have to you have to do things. You have to like we were setting up a camera on our first class.
That's good.
Yeah,
But I
so-
guess the thing that I have a problem with is that, and this is not just with film school, it's just school now in general, is that, so what's like most schools now are like at least 20 grand, right? So 4 years, that's $80,000 in student loan debt that you can never get rid of. There's nothing you can do to get rid of that loan, right? Kids sign up for those things without knowing the consequences behind it. They don't know that like that will basically, that's like a tax, that's a forever tax that has interest on. And then they go to work as a PA that makes $170 a day once in a while. That's the problem that I have. I think it's like it seems almost like the schools are selling sometimes a bill of goods, like you're going to do this and you're going to, because that's what every kid is thinking. No kid is going to that program thinking, oh, I'm going to be a PA when I get out of here. Everybody's going there thinking like, oh, I'm gonna shoot ET or
Oh, but that's the same
Silence
thing
of the
with
Lambs when I
like
get out
any
of here.
career. That's the same thing with any career. You don't
Well,
go
not
to
a
business school
doctor.
thinking like, no, I mean you
Not
can be
an
a shitty
engineer.
doctor. You can, like,
You know what I
can be
mean?
like a shitty
there
engineer.
are careers that you need to get the degree in order to work. And a lot of jobs are like that. And a lot of jobs require a bachelor's degree. But I think there's a lot of bachelor's degree that are not worth anything, right? Like if I go to college to study, I don't know, whatever, Western history or something like that, that degree is not going to pay for itself. If I spend the same time, the 4 years studying engineering or electrical engineering or biochemistry, that guy or that girl is going to get out of school with a job.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like it's not. We don't all like the same thing. Like it's not like
Well, then
everybody's
don't go to
gonna
school.
like just because like you were I don't know. Okay, doctor might be a more like I don't know like a certain career path. So I'm gonna be a doctor. No, I hate biology. Like I'm not gonna be like
No, but I'm not saying everybody should be a doctor.
Yeah,
I'm saying
but that's
some
the
people
thing. It's
shouldn't
like
go to
you
school because unless you're gonna pay for it, because you're gonna pay for it either way. So if you're going to school to get a profession, to get an income, and you get out of school and you don't have a job, that's going to negatively affect your life.
No, I know, but then
That's my point.
but then you're like, you don't know if you're not gonna get a job. It's not like certain that you won't get a job. Like nobody goes to school like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna have a job in 4 years. So yeah, whatever.
Well, but that's the point though, right? Because if you say, look, I'm not, everybody goes in with the rosy color sunglasses and think, oh, I'm gonna get out of here. I mean, I did it. Like I remember I used to be, like I went to school for engineering. I never finished it because I started a business and I took a different route. But I remember being in engineering school and the kid. I mean, we're such dumb kids, and we were younger, so we're like, oh man, we're gonna make this money. What are we gonna buy? What are we gonna do with this? And it's like, fuck, you fucking didn't even finish the program yet. You're already spending the money that you didn't even have. So I know that we are like kids go to school and they're super, optimistic about things. But I think that I don't know. I think that some people should really think about the amount of money that they're spending because
yeah, of course. But
it doesn't go away and it will come back. You know what I mean?
honestly, with any like, I've heard of people that have like, I don't know, like huge debts, and
Yeah.
since I didn't grow up with like this thinking, you don't have like, it was a different scenario for me in Brazil.
Yeah.
I never had like a debt, because of school. So
Right, exactly.
I can
But
just
that's the
like
thing
start
about Brazil
fresh.
that, but that's the thing about Brazil that I think is actually positive, right? Is that if you think about it, if you're a smart, brilliant kid that can take the test and pass and go to like one of those amazing schools and get out of there a doctor, that's amazing. That's great.
But then it's also like not, it's not like the best scenario because again, most of the kids that actually go to a private school are the ones that actually go to a public college.
Because
Because
they don't
you
have the foundation.
Yeah, because you have like a better
to get there.
foundation,
Yeah.
So that's where you see the difference of like, this person was rich, or had like some sort of like, not rich, but have like some, their parents had some sort of income. They could pay for like a private high school, so you could have like a better foundation to actually go to a public college. It doesn't mean like most of the people would have been able to afford like hundreds and hundreds thousand. Like I wouldn't have been, I would have a debt under my name, but still, it makes it different if you have like median, like income, like I don't know how you say, but like
like a medium, like
Yeah.
you're like middle class.
middle class. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're like middle class, it's like you usually go to like a public college.
Yeah, that is. I mean, but it's still. It is a pathway.
But it's
not
a
like
possibility,
ideal. Yeah, it's
it
not
is a
ideal, of
possibility, yeah.
course. So let me get this straight. So if let's say I was a kid in Brazil, I left in Brazil. I left Brazil. I was in the 7th grade, so I don't remember any of this shit. So let's say I don't graduate from high school. Can I take the test?
No.
You have to graduate.
No. You can take the test. You just cannot go to college.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can take because a lot of people do that as a training.
Uh-huh.
You can do that in your second year of high school, you just cannot.
So if you
won't be
pass the
accepted.
test,
Yeah, you won't be accepted until you finish high school. It's different than here. Like you can be like, there's literally like, I mean, there might be one case or two, but it's not like a thing like in America that you would see like kids or teenagers that are super smart and they could go to college,
yeah.
No, you have to finish high school.
You have to finish high school. That's interesting because I would think like, let's say I'm in the 11th grade or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, fuck this. I already know everything. Just go over there, take the test, pass, and like, yo, see you later. I'm in college now.
Yeah, no.
College there, you don't live at college, right? Like they don't have dorms or anything?
Some of them do, but
Some
it's
of them
not. It's not like a thing.
Yeah, mostly
it's
go
not.
home, right?
Yeah, or like, you just rent a place with like some other friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not. First of all, it's not even like mandatory or anything. We don't have that kind of thing. It's just you find a place, on your own, or like there might be places inside college when it's like a big facility, like when it's a big one. But it's not always like that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. If I ever go back to Brazil, I know that I'm going to be going to a completely foreign country for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you have no idea how Brazil is anymore. So
No, I really don't. I mean, I see pictures and I see, like Instagram. Now that I have more Brazilian friends and I talk to more Brazilian people, Instagram starts showing me more Brazilian stuff. And some of them it's cool. Some of them scares me in a way because, um, you know, you, you really, I don't know. It's weird. Like it's like we're talking to somebody right before we started, right? And you're like, oh, he's more American than he's Brazilian at this point. In a way, that's very true. Even when it comes to interacting with people and culture stuff, there are some things that that right now they're foreign to me. Because you got to understand something. In 1992, when I left Brazil, uh, the year you're born, exactly. There really wasn't a way for you to like do FaceTime with your friends, right? Or call on WhatsApp and talk to somebody from anywhere in the planet. Like it was very difficult to call Brazil. Like you had to, it was like hundreds of dollars. I remember my mother, being an immigrant here in America and getting like a phone bill for like $400 back in 1992, which would be like a phone bill that's like $1,600 today or whatever it is for adjusted for inflation, but like ridiculously high because she would call my grandfather. She would talk to her father for like maybe half an hour or 20 minutes. And that bill was like $400 at the end of the month. It was not something that you do. And then you have to, like, there's no way to send money. There was no way to do. So once you left Brazil, you basically lost contact with everybody.
yeah, that's
Um,
insane. Wow.
Yeah, it's insane to think about it now, right? Because you
Yeah.
can fucking talk to
Oh
Brazil
yeah, I still
right now.
keep in touch with like
Yeah,
my
we talked to
friends and
Brazil
all
2
of it,
seconds
yeah.
ago when
Yeah.
before we started. So I think that's one of the things that caused this division for me of Brazilian culture. And I was in a place where maybe there was 2 other Brazilian people there at the time. There was a kid from São Paulo that I went to school with,
Yeah.
and there's some girls that are from Brazil, but not that many. And there were a lot of Portuguese. There were a lot of Cape Verdeans. There were a lot of later on Russians started coming over. So, my high school years, I was with the Russians.
Oh, okay.
That was interesting. But yeah, man, you completely lost contact with the homeland.
Wow.
Yeah,
you should go back this year.
Yeah, well, you keep telling
what's
me, you
up.
keep selling me the idea.
I
I
told
gotta
you.
go over there and get a wife.
There we go. You can go look.
I
for
don't
one.
know if that's a good idea based on
I don't know. Maybe you find someone that you like.
recent history.
Maybe you find someone that you like. Maybe I mean a Brazilian in Brazil is gonna be different.
Right, and that's what though, that's a good point. A Brazilian in Brazil is different than here because I think sometimes like you know what I compare it to. When you go to LA, right? People kind of change because they have this idea of what LA is like, or they have this agenda. You know what I mean? They want to make it. And I think a lot of Brazilian people, when they come here, or the people that do come here, they have that kind of a thing. Oh, I want to make it. I want to do this. I want to whatever. And that mentality is not necessarily like a good mentality, I think, because it causes people to do all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
You see it in LA all the time. Like people literally change when they land there.
Wow. Yeah. So then let's find you a Brazilian in Brazil.
In Brazil, okay. The problem is like then if I bring her here, that'd be a problem. I might have to be in Brazil for a little while. You know what I would like to do?
Stay over there a little while.
Huh?
Just stay over there a little while.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It would be nice to be there for like 3 months.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean? And kind of like get acclimated to the land again.
Yeah.
Maybe not go to like a big city necessarily, although like, maybe São Paulo would be okay. Rio is too crazy. I see things about Rio and I'm like,
yeah.
holy shit.
Yeah.
It's like a war zone.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but yeah, sometimes. So, yeah, I don't know where the perfect place. Just try like a month. I don't know.
Yeah?
A month each. I don't know, do Rio, São Paulo, Minas. I don't know, like different places. You know
what? What seems interesting. I love to go to the south of Brazil because I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
like the south,
it is.
like near Argentina. And
it's very nice. Like if you go to like Florianopolis, like Santa Catarina, it's nice. It's pretty.
I had a college professor who always talked really well about the universities in the south of Brazil. Like, they're so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
The cities are so clean.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, really? Brazil?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, the south is completely different.
It is.
So, did you know that there's I found this out just watching YouTube the other day. Do you know there's a city in Brazil called Americanas?
Oh yeah. It's right next to São Paulo.
Yeah, you know who started that?
Huh.
Take a wild guess.
Americans?
Yeah, but not just any Americans. When the South, where we are right now, lost the Civil War, and those Confederate soldiers wanted to get out of here because they thought the North was going to come and put them in jail. So they all went to Brazil and they started
Americana.
Yeah, so basically old slave people, owners that left Atlanta and South Carolina, whatever.
Oh, look at that. Now
they
they're
went
rich.
to Brazil and
and
they started the city. They started this place, Americanas, which is like...
it's like an hour or 2 hours away from São Paulo. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh my God, this is so crazy.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, well, I think we've been talking for like over an hour now.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, are you tired, buddy?
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
I have that effect in people.
I don't.
I do make people tired.
It's
okay though.
I'm thinking about subjects now.
No, there's not. Listen,
I'm not tired about you, man. I'm just messing up with you.
Okay.
Come on.
But you know what though? I think the way one of the things I want to do about this podcast is that I mentioned it before. Like, I wanted to have conversations with people. I want it to be very like an open conversation kind of a thing, and I want to get guests that I don't necessarily agree with.
Oh yeah.
I want to have different voices. I want to have different opinions and really be a thing where everybody can learn. And, that's why I felt that this should be a different thing from the other channel, which is more like is a different thing altogether.
Okay.
But we'll see. I'm going to do this experiment here for a while.
Yeah.
And see how it goes. But listen, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Tell the good people where they can find your work, Didi.
Oh, yeah, right?
Didi, Adriana. Where they can find your work.
You can find me at Didi. It's DIDI Productions _ at Instagram. Or you can find my website at ddproductions.com. Message me, DM me, whatever. Always up for anything different. Yeah. That's it. And also, IMDb is still Adriana Paulini Leo, so it's full name, but also has now I'm getting the credits as Didi Paulini, so I'm gonna update that real soon.
Very cool. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, he was. So there was a very big thing. Like, you cannot go into a temple that is dedicated for these types of covenants and these rituals unless you have a temple recommend, which is following all of the rules. You actually get interviewed by your bishop, which is like your neighborhood, your neighborhood shepherd, if you will. You get interviewed by him to make sure that you're following all of the rules. And I actually almost did not have my grandfather at my wedding because one of the rules is don't drink coffee, like we are today. Thank you.